Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see the minimum wage sort of raised, of course. It's a tough one what I've seen in San Francisco is that the servers do make over $120,000 and you're paying a line cook $9, $10 an hour. It's really hard to get good back of the house staff and to retain them. So at some point we have to learn how to equal it out. I don't think we'll go up to $15 an hour. I think we'll go up to 10. Mm-hmm. And I think there'll be a cap on what a server goes up to. I think our minimum wage is like $3 something now.
Yeah.
So they might go up to $6 an hour, and plus tips. So I haven't really wrapped my head around that one yet.
Service charge? Yes? No?
I wish. I've been studying this and advocating for it internally for at least 15 to 20 years. And unfortunately, what I learned was that, what I would love would be to wave a magic wand for this whole country so that the price you paid for your chicken at Barbudo, of course, would...
Where else would you eat chicken?
Well, in the same way that Jonathan has to price into that chicken what he's paying all of his cooks and what he's paying the florist and what he's paying the maitre d' and the insurance company and the trash company and everybody. And he's not asking me to decide, by the way, did the dishwasher do a great job? Should I tip the dishwasher? No, he's making a judgment as to what people should be paid, and that's built into the chicken. The one thing that's not built into the chicken cost is what should the server be paid for bringing that chicken to me. And sometimes the server gets penalized because the cooks or something went wrong in the kitchen for whatever reason. It wasn't the server's fault. Sometimes the server gets rewarded because the chicken was the best chicken in the world, and I'm so happy I'm going to leave a bigger tip. But tipping almost never correlates to the actual experience. 20% tippers are 20% tippers. 17% tippers are 17% tippers. So if I could wave a magic wand, it would be one price, and it should be the restaurateur's responsibility to figure out who deserves what within the restaurant. As Michael said, there's a couple big challenges, and the reason this hasn't happened so far, there's three. Americans love tipping. Although Uber is helping to break that down. Uber is helping to teach us that you don't have to leave a tip, and in fact, the absence of leaving a tip somehow correlates to a better driver-passenger experience. So that's a good thing.
Do you have a piece of Uber?
Do not.
Okay, just checking.
I briefly said he should. I said, at his Kentucky Derby party, I said,
but I
should.
I want to kill myself because I was asked to interview the CEO, Travis, 7 years ago to help him figure out how the New York market, and I didn't have the courage to ask if I could invest. So anyway, but I don't. But I like that. But Americans do like tipping. Number two is waiters like being tipped. For all of the belly aching that you might hear when someone from Great Britain or someone from France who doesn't understand our culture stiffs somebody on a tip. The vast population of servers that I've spoken to over the years like the tip. They like the feeling of ringing the bell when they sold an expensive bottle of wine and their income goes up. They really like that. They like the experience of getting together with all of their servers at the end of a shift, even in a pool house, and saying, look what I contributed. That feels good to them. So that's problem number two. And problem number three, as Michael was saying, is that the minute we have a service and hospitality and dishwasher and florist and everything included and the one price for the chicken, we are now going to face a big, big challenge, all of us, because we are now going to be responsible for evening out the existing disparity between what a cook gets and what a server gets. We can no longer at that point say, well, it's the tipping system. That's why the servers are getting this much and you're getting this much. And now it's going to be harder for us, unless the entire industry does it at once, it's going to be harder to be a pioneer and to all of a sudden do the right thing and even out what hard work of any stripe earns in your restaurant and expect to get the best waiters to want to work in your
There's
restaurant.
33% of that dollar coming in, you can actually bring back in a pooled situation.
Sorry,
It's a
there's
taxable
one-
income.
That's
question.
right, but there's one other challenge. In order to make all boats rise with that tide, everybody's gonna have to make more money. And now, unless every restaurant in the country does this, you're gonna put your restaurant at an economic disadvantage because the chicken, which is the best value on earth at $24,
19.
$19. I mean, this is sick. Is gonna cost $39, and it's gonna change the entire value equation of going to any of our places.
Right.
You know, I think it's all about meritocracy. You know, I think that, you know, I've experienced two systems at Michael's and at Chez Panisse with this. And it's funny, at Chez Panisse, people always leave 20% on top of the prefix. On top of the prefix, on top of the built-in tip, they always leave, there's a little line, in fact, there's a line there. So everybody leaves another 20%. So the waiters are doing really well. And I'm happy for them. I want waiters to do well. I want everybody to do well. You know, you want, listen, we're Americans. We're supposed to do well.
But, Josh, you and I were talking earlier about cutting citrus, not too early, because you don't want to get too far ahead of the game because there's some problems with that. Tell me about that.
Sure, so this sort of falls next in line with the juice that I was bringing up earlier. It's really important. There's a lot of waste in bars. And with a little bit of thought, I mean, people create juice logs, they create pars for these sorts of things. And so, particularly when you're a menu-driven establishment, which is a lot of what we're talking about today, you can know exactly what it is you need and how many you're gonna need over the course of the night. And maybe you're gonna have something different between Sunday and Wednesday and something different between Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. But at the end of the day, you wanna cut just enough of what you need so that at the end of the night, you throw away a couple. The thing that I despise the most, when you go into a bar, and they have their cups or whatever it is that they keep their garnishes in, and there are lime wedges, and the edges of the limes are brown.
Ugh.
It's like I want to walk out of the establishment. I mean, how tough is it to cut 2 limes and put 16 lime wedges in a thing and throw it out? But because nobody is training them properly or there hasn't been the proper systems put in place, you revert back to like, you know, the year 2000 when everything got a lime wedge and you come in and it's like you wedge up a half a case of limes and then you have all these limes there. It's a simple gesture, and really the example means so much more because these sorts of things will run through your entire bar program. But
Well,
at the end of the day, you just want to be concise.
Concise, and it's also being a restaurant-specific person too. It's having that conversation with the chef as well about how much you need, and if does he need juice? Can you share? Can he use that in something? And all that kind of stuff. What is fresh? What is seasonal? What is he using on the menu? So also, I can make my bar program make sense. I'm always a bar for the restaurant. It's never a restaurant for the bar.
Totally.
And so that's definitely, I've always done programs in which I have to honor the food. You know, I've got Chef Marcus back there that I was really, you know, honored to work with. And when he was doing modern Southern food, you know, of course we're gonna have Southern ingredients, whiskey, come on. You know, it would make no sense to have a gin bar. And that kind of thing. And also talking about those seasonal ingredients, and in Louisiana we have very specific local ingredients, taking advantage of that.
What about, this is a toss-up for any of you, the issue of sort of creativity versus commerce? You clearly need to make money. You want to create things that will sell. You want to reorder bottles. You don't want them sitting on your shelf. But at the same time, you want to be creative, right? You want to do things that speak to you as a creative person, as a bartender. I'm guessing in your case, they come to the aviary because they want to be wowed and they're Alice in Wonderland kind of thing. But at the end of the day, I mean, you got to make something that people are going to buy.
Right, and you definitely don't want to be too esoteric. I think what we're talking about is not revolutionary. We're taking what you have done in your kitchens forever, pars, ordering responsibly, not having huge amounts of waste, and applying that to the bar. Now your program needs to make sense as well, and I'm actually as in depth as that we get at the aviary. I'm pretty simple when I'm designing, and then we kind of build that. I never put something in a cocktail just so because it sounds good. It's actually one of my pet peeves when you read a laundry list of ingredients and you're like, and you taste the drink, you're like, that's playing no role whatsoever. if you were cooking a dish, you wouldn't put in some superfluous spice just because it sounded cool. And so if it's not playing a role, if it's not contributing or balancing, get rid of it. You're wasting ink on the menu, you're wasting money on the ingredient, and you're kind of stroking your own ego a little bit. So I think simple is fine. And you're talking about creative, work seasonally. Your kitchens are going to do that, and that's the expectation. So why wouldn't your bar do that? If you're serving, blueberry mojitos in December, something might be wrong. You want to use stuff when it's best, and it's going to taste freshest. Tomatoes do not taste in January the way they taste in August. So we'll have drinks, and people will be like, "Oh, I want that Bloody Mary riff that you did." Tomatoes taste like cardboard right now, so I'm not making that cocktail. And it gives your guests something to look forward to. It shows that you're putting attention. It's giving them something new when they come back to your bar. And the beautiful thing about cocktails, I can go out to dinner regularly. When I go out to dinner, I would say that 60%, 70% of my tab is beverage when I'm going out, because you can have 3 cocktails a piece. If you're a two-top, now you're in 6 cocktails, but I'm only going to order one entree. Right? So if that's $27 entree, now I've ordered 14 times 6 cocktails, and it's a serious part of your tab. And your margins are always going to be better on beverage than they are on food. Less expensive labor, less expensive produce going into it. You're generally running 20% cost. If you can't hit 20% on beverage, something again is wrong, and you can get way below that. You have your loss leaders, you balance them out. This is a money-making proposition.
Here, and I want to start with Tom, because you have been on the line so many years also as running restaurants too, it's from the 90s, and you've sort of been through a recession and back. And have you seen, what is your big lesson from all this in terms of customer loyalty? You have somehow managed to get people to come back no matter what the terms are like in New York City, and be loyal.
Yeah, I remember back after one of the recessions, and somebody asked, it was an interview, and someone asked, "What are you doing now?" "Now we're focusing on the customer." Well, why weren't you focusing on the customer when you first opened your restaurant, or for the years before that? We haven't changed what we do. I think creating regulars, it's like the lifeblood of the restaurant business. But to do that first, you have to create a culture of hospitality in your own house. The way we create regulars, it's not me going from table to table. It's my servers who are empowered to go out there, and they know that their job is to, 1, make people happy, number 2, create regulars. So they're charged with that. Once you create a culture of hospitality within your own house, then it's a lot easier for that to happen.
Also begins actually before they even sit down. A quote that I read that you'd given in an interview said, you think that people come to the restaurant for food, but they'll come back for service. The number one reason someone comes back to a restaurant is recognition.
Sure.
I don't care who you are, there's always that moment when you walk into a restaurant, even if you've got the reservation, you confirm that moment of hesitation. You say, do you have my reservation? And you walk in, they say, "Hi, Mr. Smith, welcome back." Right. It's over, you're there for life. So
I said that?
You said that. So, very articulate.
That's good.
So it was good. So you train your staff not just to touch on the floor, but actually to recognize them. And that's kind of like a Four Seasons thing, isn't it?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the old Cheers. You want to go where people know your name.
Yeah, it gets me every time. It's like you go somewhere and they're like, "Gin and tonic, Mr. Brock?" I'm like, "Absolutely." Make it too.
So how do you tell your staff at McCrady's to do that?
Well, what we do is we track everything, and we talk about it every day. So if a guest comes in, they give us their information, we put it into a computer system, and then when they leave the table, the server will make notes, sparkling water, any kind of notes that we can, if they are happy or unhappy, any kind of notes that'll help us. And then that goes into the system at the end of the night. And then you build this huge collection of all these little tickets up. And so when you sit down at lineup, it's like, wow, this guy's been here 72 times. And then that's the kind of thing that I've learned over the years, is really collecting all that data. So that when they sit down, it's like, "Gin and tonic?" It's like, "Whoa, how did you remember that?" "Well, it was in the computer." But
Right, but data collection, it's a little thing to do, is to take a little extra time to put the data in, but it means so much if you can come back and use it.
It takes 5 minutes at the end of the night to type that in the computer. But then it becomes fun, and fun for the servers. It's like you say, it's like Cheers. It's like you become friends with the diners. I mean, we have people who've eaten at McCrady's for 8 years straight, like Lord knows how many times. And it's like, you know what, we're friends with them.
You
Yeah.
hang out with them outside of work. And I think that's the beauty of a restaurant, and that's the beauty of food is bringing people together in your community.
And Stephanie, Girl and the Goat hasn't been around that many years, but you launched with this huge success from Top Chef, and there was all this buzz in Chicago. But yet you can't just rest on that. I mean, that lasts for a little while, sure, but you've got to make sure that they're coming back. So how have you implemented that?
Yeah, I think that for me, I was lucky to have the notoriety to get people to come in the first time, and it's so important to, you can't live off of that, especially after we're on our 4th year now. So it's all about getting them back in, and I think my husband and I talk about it all the time. It's about making it personal for them.